So with homeschooling, I allow parents to kind of consult with me. And what we do is we get a complete game plan together that works for the child, but also the family unit.
Hey friends, it's Steve. Want to know how a $5 book lands a $5,000 client? I've recorded a 15-minute video showing you our magnetic author method. It's up now at magneticauthor.co/video. Welcome to the Unstoppable CEO podcast. I'm your host, Steve Gordon, and let me tell you, we got a dynamite interview for you today. This is going to be a little bit different, and I think it's really important. And we're going to be talking today with Mary Resenbeck. She is a client of ours. She just published her book within the last year, and she is an absolute expert at homeschooling. And one of the things that I have heard from lots of my entrepreneur friends over the last 2 years is that we got to rethink how we're educating our kids. And I don't mean in general as a society, although that may be true. Most of them are like, I got 3 kids at home and we've got to do something different. And so I wanted to invite Mary on today to talk about that. She has been teaching since 2000, and she got into it after watching her dyslexic son and daughter really struggle in the traditional school environment. And she became a teacher at the same school as her children. Then she really discovered a unique approach to engage kids really across the whole spectrum, both kids that had challenges and kids that didn't, and really work them all and integrate them all together. And, you know, from kids with what she calls invisible learning differences to traditional learners and gifted students, and even what she calls twice exceptional kids. So she's developed something called the Resenbeck Maverick Learning Method, and consulted with homeschooling families all over the place to help them use those methods to homeschool their kids in a really fun and stress-free way. And I'm excited to have her here. Mary Resenbeck, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you, Steve. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, I am too. We got a little behind the scenes look as your book was being developed and got to work with you on that, which was really exciting. And one of the things that I learned through the development of your book is I started seeing how many people, and of course this was happening, kind of on the tail end of a lot of the COVID lockdowns of the schools. I saw so many of my business owner friends going, it's time to do something different. And I know we went through that with our own, our youngest, we've got of 4, we've got 1 left at home. We moved him from the public schools into the private schools. We considered homeschooling. And one of the things that I love about your approach is you look at the family and the kid and try and find the optimal solution for them, wherever it is. And so I'm excited to talk about that today. I would love it if you give everybody just a little bit of background about you and maybe update. And we talked about how you got into teaching, but maybe update some of the things that have happened, since the book has come out, because you've kind of become a homeschooling celebrity.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I don't know about a celebrity yet, but I mean, I am very happy to be in the industry, and it was by accident. I have been in teaching for 22 years, and it was in a traditional setting where it was brick and mortar, and it was based on a Montessori philosophy, which was really sort of outside of the box. And it really created an environment for me to be able to look at children in multi-age classrooms and be able to see the different needs. And what I realized through that process was that a individualized, personalized education is really the way to foster learning in an intrinsic way. So a lot of times we will find frustrations with even the parents, the children, even with the teachers themselves, when somebody is not learning in a traditional manner and they're not keeping up with the race, with, all of the timelines that I feel are unreasonable simply because not everyone is exactly identical and not everyone process information the same way. So with homeschooling, I allow parents to kind of consult with me. And what we do is we get a complete game plan together that works for the child, but also the family unit, because the family unit is also extremely important for learning to be a wonderful place, eager to do it every single day, and not have those, harnesses that we all sometimes rely on just to keep up with the race that everyone has to be on the same page at the same time at the same age. And so with that came a great opportunity with homeschooling, and it was by accident. My children have dyslexia and dysgraphia, and it's actually quite severe. And what was interesting about them is they were twice exceptional, which simply means that they are very gifted intellectually, but when you have to read and write and take all that information and put it on paper, or take your eyes and transcribe that into your brain to read it, that was something that they struggled with. And so there was an imbalance with the way that they were being able to be taught, because it was kind of an anomaly. Like the teachers sometimes thought they were faking it. So through that, I pulled them out because of their self-esteem. I learned that if you focus on their passions, talents, and gifts, those what we call deficiencies, with less stress, seem to blossom. So everything kind of starts to even itself out. Both my children are college graduates, and they went to their first choice college. And it was through that process of homeschooling that made me realize that maybe the traditional learning in general, what we've been used to for the last 150 years, is something we need to look at differently. If it's not working, then fix it. And how do we fix it? Well, we look at what's working. And what's working for me and my perspective is to really individualize and personalize that. And you can really do that with homeschooling, even if you're working full time, and also if you are not, in your mind, wealthy enough to take on homeschooling, because both parents have to work, or you just don't have the means to create a fulfilling curriculum. There are so many different avenues and different ways for you to approach homeschooling that it can literally work for everyone. That's my true belief.
Well, and I want to come back to that time concept in a minute, because I think that's what holds a lot of people back, is that, husband and wife, and they're both working. The thought is, well, one of us is going to have to stop and be with the kids. So I want to come back to that in a minute, because I think that's a big fallacy. That's one of the things I learned as we went through the process of helping create your book. There's just so many resources, but you said something really important. We've got 4 kids. Every one of them learned and learns differently, and we noticed that. And yet they were sort of trying to be forced through a school system that's designed for everyone to be the same.
Right.
And one of the things that I learned from you is that you've got this really great way of blending students of different ages, which would happen naturally in a family that's homeschooling, and also of different learning styles and abilities. That really is, I think, quite remarkable. When you begin to think about, like, if you take a group of 3 kids or 4 kids or 5 kids that a family is trying to homeschool, and they're all these different ages, how do you begin to think about integrating all of that? What's your approach?
Well, for me, I am a big believer in academic-based musicals. And when I say that, it's not necessarily that you're on the stage and doing a production, which I really like to do. That's one of my favorite things that I do like to do with children. But if you're homeschooling, that method translates, and it translates through the songs, the movement, the dialogue. And if you get creative at home, you want to add some costume pieces. So all of it really sticks it crosses over age groups. So they're going to learn exactly what they are capable of learning at that time. And as they grow through this process, they're going to learn a little bit more, be more invested. They're going to want to investigate what they are questioning. So you can take that and then explore that unit. And it depends on the maturity of the child and where they are in their learning style. So I'm a big proponent of music and theater and play, all the way into even teen years. I mean, I don't call it play because, teens don't play anymore. But I mean, in a
Just
way
not cool.
of being interactive, I change it to interactive. And so they accept that term. But it really is about harnessing all those senses and then allowing the children to absorb the information that they're ready to absorb. And then anything that they aren't, you just keep going. You just carry through with it. And with music, it really does kind of stick in their head. And they don't have to be Christina Aguilera. They don't have to be, the next James Dean. That's not what the point is. The point is to be able to take a lot of information in, because there's a lot of information that children today are required to learn, but also be able to do it in a fun, creative way. And with that creativity, spark critical thinking, which will then explore at their level how they are going to research a topic further.
Yeah. And the key there is getting them to begin to think critically. And, and sounds like what you're really doing is trying to engage them, not just to sort of sit and listen to a lecture, which is the way most schools are structured, right? Mm-hmm. But you're actually getting them to be a part of and participate in the learning, so it's an active process, is it not?
Oh, 100% to immerse yourselves. Like if we're talking about medieval time or early Renaissance time, well, we have an academic-based musical we can pull from, but also you can take them to a Renaissance fair. And you can actually research these things and see which ones aren't like pop-up fairs, but have more of a history base to them, and really have them watch people blow glass, have people shearing, the sheep for wool, and actually then being able to take it and do it. And I mean, it just really has a lasting effect, because when you're experiencing it, you don't get lost in the translation. You're experiencing it. So it really, it's just a way to solidify learning.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's deal with kind of the elephant in the room. Everybody who thinks about homeschooling, if they're running a business at the same time, their first thought is, how am I ever going to do this? How am I ever going to find the time? I'm already working far too many hours. How am I going to do this? So I want to talk about how you deal with the time piece of it and find ways for them to be able to do this.
Well, I guess the greatest example would be my last client, and her daughter just graduated from high school. And I worked with them from the time, I was her second grade teacher. So they came back to me when she was in high school. She was having difficulties in her 8th grade year. And so they decided to roll her over to homeschooling. And they had the same questions when they started her in 9th grade. They said, we work, sometimes, 50, 60-hour weeks. And this is something that we can't deviate from. This is something that is actually our lifestyle. This is how we do it, and this is how we make a living, and this is how we live. And at the same time, they're like, we need her to have an individualized, personalized education, and we love your approach. And so how do we make that happen with our busy work schedule? Well, I am an educational manager. And so they knew me as a teacher. So when I rolled over into that next business model for them, they were really enthusiastic and wanted to know exactly what that looked like. And so basically what I did was I took time with Alyssa, and I just saw her gifts, her talents, Really worked an entire curriculum around that. And part of that was going to an enrichment center and having like a drop off where it was like she was in school. I was still on the campus, but it was that she was still on a campus, still navigating that and being able to really experience different teachers and things like that. And so with an educational manager, you have that option to be able to make it a very healthy learning journey, a great academic journey while not interrupting your work life and not, missing meetings and things like that. There's someone there walking that student down a path of learning that is based on their gifts, their talents, and things like that. And she did so well. I'm so proud of her. She graduated. She also graduated with her teacher's assistant certificate, and she is starting as a teacher's aide this fall.
That's fantastic. And when you're working with people, are they surprised by the number of resources that are available? I mean, it's not just homeschooling isn't just you've got the kids at the kitchen table all day.
Right. No,
teaching them.
No, in
right?
fact, that's awful. No, that's what, they thought we were going to do. And they actually got a little place in their office for us to like sit there all day. And I mean, the walls were closing in. I said, we got to get out of here. Learning is not about sitting down. For me, learning is not about sitting down at a table and just grinding. Now, a lot of people like that style of learning, and there's nothing wrong with that. But for us, it's about getting out, going to the museums, making sure that when you are expanding whatever unit that you're learning about, that it's a hands-on and that you're getting proper education in the sense of the right teachers to teach the right subjects. And there's so many resources where you can find that online, in person, co-ops, enrichment centers, and it's a really fulfilling educational path. And you also get that extracurricular too. So you get the theater, you get the art, you can participate in sports. I mean, it's really remarkable. She went to prom. She went to a Disney night for grad night. She had a full graduation. She experienced it all, especially like high schoolers want to experience in those, final years of high school. And through homeschooling and her parents working as many hours as they worked, they allowed her through an educational manager that experience in such a beautiful, individualized way. And she has special needs. So that on top of it was something that was really wonderful, because sometimes when you have special needs and you go on an academic journey, your self-esteem is lower. And with this kind of journey that allowed her to spread her wings and really explore those things that she did well, it absolutely made her self-esteem soar. And so that was just a remarkable experience. And I see it all the time.
That's amazing. And I think, one of the reasons I wanted to do this interview is because I know that there are people listening who are struggling, with things, either struggling with the school that their children are in, or they're struggling with, kids that have special needs, or kids that just aren't learning in the traditional environment. And a lot of times as business owners, we think, well, if we just buckle down and push a little harder, we'll solve the problem, because that's often how we solve problems, right? But I think bringing it out, being open about it, and saying, look, there's this whole other world over here. And I saw a statistic recently that I think public school enrollment is down by about 1 million kids, and I think nationwide. And then homeschooling has just skyrocketed over the last 18 months because we were all forced to do it. And then people said, you know what?
Liked it.
They liked it. But there are some of these challenges to making it really work well.
That's right.
and you've got all sorts of resources. And I know you're based in California, but you've got resources across the country that support families. Talk a little bit about the networks that are popping up kind of all over that are there to support families.
Well, there's so many networks across the United States that support homeschool families. And if you like online, because a lot of people like online, there's things like outschool.com. You get really excellent teachers from outschool.com that you can actually fill in the blanks too. And they are a la carte. So it's something that if you need geometry and you want to do a semester with just one teacher and get it out of the way, that is something that you can strive for. There's enrichment centers that when you go out, you can see those creative classes that you're looking for, or something like me that I do, which is academic-based musicals, which is a creative way of learning core subjects. There's just so many avenues that someone can take. And if your child has special needs, so when I say that, I mean all kinds of special needs. There are ways to get those resources that you're looking for, the services that you get through the district, like OT, PT, all those reading services that you may be looking for, like Orton Gillingham. Those things are available in the homeschool world. As you were saying, Steve, there's a big exodus with students, right? Well, also with teachers, because the teachers are also tired of the bureaucracy and the fact that they're being told what to do by people who don't even teach and have no experience in it at all. They just want to start telling teachers how to run their classrooms. And these kids are not robots. So they're actually running to the homeschool community. And we are building up a homeschool community, not only just with homeschooling parents, but with teaching professionals that also have backgrounds for special needs kids and specialized training for reading and math difficulties. And there's just a wonderful kind of a revolution happening within the educational system in this country.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it's pretty interesting to watch. It's sort of happening organically, but it's happening fast.
As I say, it's homegrown. That's how I say, it is.
Exactly. Homegrown, homeschool. So I want to pivot a little bit. I want to talk about your book because your book's amazing. And, when you came to us looking to write the book, you were really just beginning to launch your consulting business.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's really been the catalyst for a lot of things. So what has that experience been like in terms of, starting the business from this perspective of like being seen as an expert right off the bat? I mean, I know all kinds of crazy, amazing things have happened.
Yes, it's been actually quite wonderful. And a lot has happened since the book was published. And it did give me that extra edge, that credibility, where I've got 2 national articles that have been published based on the contents of my book. Another one I wrote and it was published in a homeschool community. And it's in like every Kroger or Costco, and it's a magazine digitally, and it gets mailed to families as well. It's been a lot of exposure, and I'm so grateful for it because it is bringing families to me that are a bit nervous because they don't want the crisis schooling that happened during COVID. They want a homeschooling experience that is family nurtured, and to be able to expand on community and to be able to base their learning on their gifts and talents and their accomplishments. Because when you base learning on your accomplishments, you just build up that self-esteem, and then everything that might be difficult, you can absolutely reel in and tackle because they're not tired with low self-esteem. So it really gives families that opportunity. And I'm just really grateful because of the book. And I am now I'm hosting online events for homeschooling families. And I have a panel of experts that come on, and it's really exciting to be able to have that opportunity to do that. And I believe that the book and being able to access my thoughts right away without even having to talk to me really solidifies that relationship. And so they are eager to continue and move forward and see, exactly where I can service and maybe give them some resources that they're looking for.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, think back to when we first talked, it was just a little bit over a year ago.
Right.
And you were just trying to get things off the ground. And now you are really, truly a leader in the homeschool movement. You're hosting these massive online events that are really great and full of experts. And you've got national press coverage. So it's just fun to watch. This is why I do what I do. It's fun to see smart people who are doing good in the world be able to get the message out and be successful. And particularly when it's a message as important as this one. And so I know you've got online events coming up periodically. So whenever someone listens to this, they're likely to be able to catch one. And I know you've got your book available. Where can people go to find out about both the book and the online events?
Okay, well, they could definitely go to my website, which is just my name, maryresenbeck.com. And they can find future events. My book is on there as well. They can also find my book, Take Charge of Your Child's Education, on Amazon as well. You can purchase it there. And you can also find me on Facebook. I'm a public page. So basically a lot of my events and things like that, I post on my page. So that's, again, Mary Resenbeck. And you just look me up on Facebook and I'm right there.
Yeah, and we'll link all of that in the show notes. So if you're listening to this and couldn't write it down or you're driving, just look in the show notes on your podcast player or on our website with this episode, and everything will be linked there. So you can get a hold of Mary if you're thinking about homeschooling, or if you're in homeschooling now and you need some help. Definitely you want to get a hold of Mary. So Mary Resenbeck, you're amazing. Thank you for being here and sharing some of your wisdom with us. This has been a really great investment of time.
Oh, thank you, Steve. I really do appreciate you having me on, and it's just been a wonderful experience.